Tell them I said thanks, but no thanks. You cannot imagine how happy I am to deliver that message. Now you must rest. You have a journey tomorrow. I do? Where? Not back to the dead land, said Gregor, feeling a little ill. No, I think it's time we send you home, said Vicus. They put a bed in his dad's room that night so he and Boots could sleep close by. Now he was going home. Gregor began to let thoughts of Lizzie and his grandma, and most of all his mom, come back into his head. Would they still be okay when he got back? He remembered his talk with the Vicus and tried to hope for the best. As soon as his dad and Boots had woken, they were taken to a dock where Gregor had made his escape the first night. A group of Underlanders had assembled to see them off. Ares will take you to the portal above the waterway, said Vicus. It will be a short distance from there to your home. Meredith pressed a handful of paper in his hand. He realized it was money. I took it from the museum. Vicus said that you might need it to travel in the overland. Thanks, said Gregor. He wondered exactly where the waterway gateway was in relation to his apartment. He guessed he'd find that out soon enough. The way is safe now, but do not tarry. As you know, things can shift quickly in the Underland, said Solivet. Gregor suddenly realized that he would never see these people again. He was surprised at how much he would miss them. They had been through a lot together. He hugged everybody goodbye, and then he came to Luxa. He thought he should just shake her hand, but he went ahead and hugged her anyway. She actually gave him a hug back. It was a little stiff, but then she was a queen. So, if you're ever in the Overland, drop by, said Gregor. Perhaps we shall see you here again someday, said Luxa. Oh, I don't know. My mom's probably going to ground me for the rest of my life just to keep me safe, said Gregor. What means this ground you? Asked Luxa. Never let me leave the apartment, said Gregor. That is not what it says in the prophecy of Bane, said Luxa thoughtfully. What? What's that? Asked Gregor, feeling a panic rise up in him. Did Vicus not tell you? It follows the prophecy of Gray, said Luxa. I'm not in it, am I? I'm not in it, right, Vicus? Said Gregor. You must depart directly if you mean to catch the current, said Vicus, slipping the backpack with Boots onto his shoulders and leading them to Ares, who was already carrying his dad. What aren't you telling me? What's the prophecy of Bane? Insisted Gregor as he felt himself lifted onto Ares' back. Oh, that, said Vicus dismissively. That is very vague. No one has been able to explain it for centuries. Fly you high, Gregor the Overlander. Vicus gave Ares a sign and spread his wings. What is it, though? What does it say? Shouted Gregor as they rose in the air. Bye. Bye, Tep. See you soon, said Boots, waving cheerfully. No, Boots, no, we're not coming back, said Gregor. The last thing Gregor saw as they left the palace was Vicus waving. He was not sure, but he thought he heard the old man say, see you soon. Down the river he went again. This time he was flying over the foaming water on Ares' strong back. Soon they reached the beach where he had encountered Fanger and Shed. He caught a glimpse of the blackened ground where the fire had been. 10 minutes later, the river fed into what either was a sea or the biggest lake Gregor had ever seen. Giant waves rolled across the water's surface and crashed onto the rocky beaches. A pair of guards on bats appeared and escorted them over the water. Gregor didn't see any rats around, but who knew what else might be down here looking for a meal. He caught a glimpse of 20-foot spiked tail as some creature flipped out of the waves and then dove. Not even gonna ask, he thought. The Gregs held their positions as Ares began to ascend into the vast stone cone. At the base, it may have been a couple of miles in diameter. A strange misty wind seemed to be blowing them upwards. Must be the currents, thought Gregor. Ares flew in a tighter circles as they ascended. He had to close his wings to squeeze through the opening at the top. Suddenly they were zipping through tunnels that looked familiar. They were not built of stone, but of concrete, so Gregor knew that they must be almost home. The bat landed on a deserted stairways and nodded his head upward. I cannot go further, said Ares. That is your way home. Fly you high, Gregor the Overlander. Fly you high, Ares, said Gregor. His hand wrapped tightly around Ares' claw for a moment, and then he let go. The bat vanished into darkness. Gregor had to help his dad along the flight of stairs. There was a stone slab in the ceiling at the top. Gregor pushed it aside. A wave of fresh air hit his face. He pulled himself out, and his fingers found grass. "Oh, man," he said, hurrying his dad to help his dad out. "Oh, man, look." "Moon," said Boots happily, pointing to the sky. "Yes, moon, little girl. Dad, look, it's the moon." His dad was too winded by the climb to answer. For a few minutes, they just sat in the grass, staring up at the beauty of the night sky. Gregor looked around and realized by the skyline that they were in Central Park. He could hear traffic just beyond a row of trees. He slid the stone slab back into place and helped up his dad. "Come on, let's grab a cab. Go see Mama, Boots?" he asked. "Yes," said Boots emphatically. Emphatically, there we go. "Go see Mama." It must have been very late. Hardly anyone was out on the streets, but a few restaurants were still open. It was just as well since they made a funny sight, all dressed up in their Underland clothes. Gregor flagged down a cab, and they piled into the back seat. The driver either didn't notice or didn't care how they looked. He had probably seen everything. Gregor pressed his face against the window, drinking in the trees, the cars, the lights, all those beautiful lights. It seemed to take no time at all to reach their apartment. He paid the driver and added up a huge tip. Then he came to the front door. His dad pulled out his keychain, the one that Gregor had made for him, from his pocket. He found out the keys with trembling fingers and found the right one. For once, the elevator wasn't broken, and they all rode up to Gregor's hall. They had opened the apartment door softly, not wanting to wake anyone. Gregor could see Lizzie asleep on the couch. From the bedroom, he could hear his grandma murmuring in her sleep, so she was okay. A light was on in the kitchen. His mother sat at the kitchen table, as still as a statue. Her hands were clasped together. She stared fixedly at a small stain on the tablecloth. Gregor remembered seeing her that way so many nights after his dad had disappeared. He didn't know what to say. He didn't want to scare her or shock her or give her any more pain. So he stepped into the light of the kitchen and said the one thing he knew she wanted to hear the most in the world. "Hey, Mom, we're home."